Hello, everyone. My name is Gus, and here we have Achim, who's taking Woody's spot. I need to find another bald guy. I cannot find some other guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we no, but welcome to the show, Achim. We're doing a new series here in Dive Talk Plus called the Debrief, where we go back and revisit videos that we reacted to on the main channel or even on this channel, and then people get to comment and ask a bunch of questions. And of course, since we don't use a script, we forget to share every detail. And then sometimes people have legitimate questions that I think it would be a good idea to answer. But mainly, I have some questions that I wanted you to answer because this debrief will be about the story that I shared a couple weeks ago about out of air scenario. And the story, it was interesting that most of the questions came because of the story that I shared, but the story I only shared to illustrate a point, which is in the heat of the moment, like as I was doing this rescue thing, I decided to show how much air I had left to calm the victim or the person who ran out of air down. Like I noticed that she was a little frazzled, and I'm like, look, I have plenty of air. It's okay. We're fine. We're good. And she definitely calmed down, and we were able to finish the whole thing. And I said, I think this should be part of like the standards. And I think you and I talked about this, and you brought it up before everyone, and you said, well, it may not be a great idea to show your air left in all situations. And I thought that was great for us to talk about it. But then on top of that, I can answer a lot of the comments. So let's start with the first one, which is by far the most common one, is how did she run out of air within 15 minutes? How did she run out of air within 15 minutes? Did nobody check her tank? Did she start low? Did she breathe that fast? Like, is she a complete idiot? Like, all these people calling her out saying it's impossible that you run out of air within 15 minutes. What happened? And that's definitely something I didn't share on the original video. And I've been responding on the comments, but nobody's reading that, which is she didn't run out of air. She was out of air because she had a first stage malfunction. Her regulator just completely stopped working. She later on I found out she even tried her octo. She thought it was like something with her main regulator. She tried her octo. She was also in a long hose configuration, or tried her necklace. Sorry, not her octo, and it didn't work either. And that's when she started panicking that she was out of air. She had more air than me. I had 2,400 psi. I mentioned like 80%. She had more than that. So yeah, it wasn't that she didn't check her stuff or there wasn't any body check. She did it. Everything was done correctly. Her first stage just stopped working 15 minutes into the dive. I don't know why, because some people ask why. What
Yeah,
happened? I don't know. It was on a dive boat. After the dive, I just got off the boat and went to my day. She went back to the shop. I hope they found out what the problem was, but her first stage wasn't working at all. So just to
that's
answer
a
that,
super
get
rare
that out
one.
of the way.
Actually, it happened to me as well, but that's, I mean, something that, first of all, shouldn't happen. And that's a really rare one.
Yeah,
I've seen one in my entire career. So that's weird.
yeah.
But I mean, there's plenty. I never understand this hate in these situations. Like, how stupid can you be to run out of gas? I mean, there's plenty of things that can happen that we probably both have seen from accidentally closed valves. I had a roll off on a descent to the USS Twain in front of the keys where the line actually got caught under the valve. Uh, Two blown O-rings in the US. You have these burst disc things, which sometimes can be an issue. So I mean, there can be quite a few things that lead to a sudden loss of gas, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the driver's fault.
Yeah. And there was actually a couple of comments of people that said I had a similar situation with a equipment issue. One guy was he had some specific regulator brand that was serviced by someone who wasn't trained by that brand, and like apparently at depth, like at 30 meters, they just stopped working. So he found himself descending early in the dive, and when he passed 30 meters, he just couldn't breathe in, couldn't inflate, like the regulators just stopped working. I don't know, some freak accident or situation, but um, issues could arise from equipment. And by the way, for those of you watching don't know Achim, Achim is from Inner Space Explorers. Great channel. You should be subscribed as well, by the way. I forgot to introduce you, Achim. I figure everyone
Always.
knows who you are. And that was bad. And then this person said, what I will say is if your body ran out of air, you're partially to blame because what happens with the body checks? So again, I already answered that. Body checks were fine.
Yeah.
It was an equipment failure. But yeah, everyone just jumps in. Oh, and this guy said that he didn't watch my. I'm just gonna read the comment verbatim. By the way, I wrote some comments in here, but I didn't write the commenter's name. I forgot that, and then I was too late to go back and check it. But he said, "I'm an ex-instructor. I cannot comment because I just wasted 5 minutes of my life listening to you talk in circles and not actually get to the point." I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, I do talk a lot. I don't have a script, but it's funny that you stop and leave a comment on a video. He's like, "I'm not gonna watch." By the way, I hated this. I hated everything about it. You're an idiot. But then leave a comment. Like, just go and make your own video. You can do a better job. Just go do it. All right. So next comment. This video is wrong in so many points. So I guess I messed up a lot. First, showing the SPG to the receiver is part of the procedure in any recreational agency. Look, I've taught for multiple agencies. I've never seen it. I've never seen it in the standards. Although some people did chime in and said that it's part of the standards, apparently on a few agencies like BSAC, and there's some agencies that do teach this. And apparently, I guess ISC at some point was doing it too, because somebody commented they had Jacob Childs as an instructor, and Jacob said it was part of the procedure. So,
Yeah, in the beginning, in the early days, it was, and then I mean, I have to say that we currently work on our standards, and if we think there's a better solution for something, we are always happy to change it, and that's exactly the case here. Um, because as much as it helped in the situation you described, it can be counterproductive. I
yeah,
mean,
let's talk about it.
it really depends on the student, or not on the student. It depends on the partner. Sorry for that. And it really depends on the situation. So if let's just build a scenario. If I'm, let's say, in a cave with somebody who is on his first cave dive, so like, say, super excited, a little bit scared maybe, and then runs into a gas issue. And let's say I'm down to, I don't know, 90 bars or something. And it is still within all the limits regarding our gas planning. But for
Yeah,
that person, it could be super stressful when I show my SPG and it's relatively low. Also, I know we have enough gas to go out, or maybe we have a stage tank or whatever. For that person, it could mean like, oh, this guy is showing me the SPG because it's super low. He
he's
probably
worried.
asked me to swim faster or breathe less or whatever. So is this person going to dump me if we're running out of ass? Are we in another issue? So it's all these mind games that you can start with this. Of course, in your situation, I mean, you're in an open water scenario and you have this person next to you and you're like, hey, we have a full tank, relax, all good. It can be super helpful, but I would not establish it as a fixed rule. But it's something, and if you remember when we were together in Blue Grotto and we talked about all the BOE procedures and all of these things, we had this discussion about this topic, and I was like, yeah, it could be great, but
Yeah.
sometimes not. So I wouldn't make it a rule, but it's always worth discussing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it should be a rule of always show your SPG because there are situations where you shouldn't. Like maybe where you are, there's low visibility or you don't want to waste time. You just need to get to the surface right now because the person is really, really panicking. So you're just trying to as safely as possible go to the surface. Yeah, there are situations where you can skip it. I think that the rule, if there's one to be introduced in the procedure, should be it's at your discretion. It's a tool that you can use to calm the diver, which is part of the procedure. Your job
Yeah,
after providing air is calm the person down, right? And I
exactly.
think that this could be something that instructors use and say sometimes it may work that you show the person how much air you have left to show them that hey, we're okay, we got this, we have plenty of air. So
That's the most
uh,
important point,
yeah,
actually. To calm down, because a lot of people think donating gas means here's my long hose, now you're good again, which is not. That's
right.
only a small portion of it. It's I have a video on my channel called "The Art of Donating Gas." It's
Yeah.
actually a two-part video where we talk a lot about this of how to display or how to give the regulator get eye contact, get physical contact.
Hmm.
As you said, just take over the situation, get that person to relax and realize there's somebody taking care of my problem and of the situation. And I actually rechecked these videos because I wasn't sure if we talk about the SVG here, which we don't. But yeah, it can be a great tool to further calm the person down.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you brought up the serious about the art of donating gas because a lot of the questions are about the procedure itself. So like just keep going on this comment where the guy said I was wrong and everything. So the second thing he said is that I made a mistake by not aborting the dive and ascending immediately. He's like, you messed up. And a couple of other people said that, to be fair, that whenever I donated gas, and on my story, I said that after donating gas, I decided to just swim back to the boat because we weren't far. There wasn't any current. And I'm like, let's just swim back to the boat and ascend slowly. Like, what's the rush? We have plenty of air. And several people said, why didn't you just go up? Like I don't get it. Why swim back? Why didn't you just go up? So again, I'm just gonna
Why
read
would
it.
you go straight up? I mean, your decision is way smarter. I mean, I ascend at the safety of the boat and not in the middle of the water and then probably face current or whatever. So I would
Exactly.
have always, I mean, if I have enough gas, and from what I understood, that was a recreational open water dive.
It was.
I always try to go back to the boat
But here's why
and
he
the
said here's why he said it was wrong. He said it's wrong not aborting and ascending immediately because you both it puts you both at danger. If your regulator fails, then you're both in problems, he said. But yeah, I mean, I don't how do you are you basically he's saying you share, you decide to swim back to the boat and then your regulator fails. You say you've seen it
Yeah,
twice in whatever many years. I mean, it will be then we both die, I guess. Like I mean, it's one of those when we talk about cave diving and somebody's like, "What if the cave collapses? What if you're buried and can't move? Then I die." Like if you stack the situation to a point where it's unrecoverable, then I die. Like I don't know where to go from here.
yeah,
Um, so it's like because he's like because what you did the showing the SPG in recreational diving works, but in cave diving it's totally the opposite way. You shouldn't show it. You know, the exit must be done. Showing the guys is only a waste of time. If there's no much air buffer, showing it can lead to worrying or panic. So I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. And I think yeah, I think the other comments about showing how much air you have left and being so low, a lot of people are like, what if you're super low on air? But why should you be low on air? That's another thing that
yeah.
I ask. It's like, why are you ever at a position where you're sharing air and you don't want to show it because you have 10 bar left? Like, why are you on that position? Like, I am just blown away by that. Or 150 psi for those of you working in psi. Like, that is extremely low. Your tank is empty at that point. So why would you be in a position where you're showing your SPG and you're so low, like you don't want to show it because you're so low that they're going to panic? I think, like you said, makes more sense. You have 60 bar or something like that, which is about a third of your tank left. So like it's still plenty of air to get back to the surface like with no issue. So even though you're low technically, like somebody could see that as low, you still have plenty. So at that point, like you said earlier, you can just, take them because you know that you have enough to go back. All
Yeah.
right. So let's see. Let's get into the procedure itself because I think a few of the comments were about when I explained what I did, which I did basically, like I mentioned, the ISC way, like just donated, established, that they were breathing, whatever. Then I did my, like, and you can talk about the procedure before we get into it. Um, this comment, I'm just going to read it. One thing that I still don't understand is why is it taught to donate the in-use regulator rather than giving your octopus? So I guess in a long hose configuration, giving your octopus your necklace doesn't make any sense. You have to donate
Of
the
course
long
not.
hose. I guess you could say, why aren't you just breathing out of your necklace and then donate the long hose instead of so I'll finish reading the comment. I agree that a certified diver shall be able to swap regulators naturally, but in an emergency situation, I see the swap like an additional complication, meaning you donate yours and then swap to your necklace. That is an additional complication. What do you think about that?
I mean, first of all, I mean, the idea of regulating your breathing is that you know you're donating the gas that works and a regulator that works because you're breathing from it and you're in control. So you can take a deep inhalation and then donate the regulator. Whilst the other one, especially in octopus configuration, I mean, it probably I mean, take a rental regulator somewhere in a tropical climate and let's say not the best maintained dive center. This thing can be dangling on a BCD for the past 2 years and collect fish and marine life and barnacles and God knows what. And that's not what I mean. the idea that somebody is in need of gas and you give them a regulator and you don't know if this thing really works or is something in it, for me is not a very smart idea. So donating the long hose, the general concept is you donate breathable gas through a working regulator. And I mean, the comment with the gas switch, I mean, if a diver, a certified diver, is struggling because he needs to switch regulators, then we should go back to zero and start it all over again. Because I mean, that's like you're dancing before you learn how to walk. I mean, that's so
Yeah.
basic that I don't understand the comment, to be honest. I mean, that for me would mean that person is so far off comfort in the water that it shouldn't dive.
Yeah. I think that what they're saying is that you're adding an extra step for no reason. Like, imagine if you were breathing out of your necklace and you just donate your hose and then you're done. Like, you don't have to do the rest, like calm him down and
Yeah.
whatever. Especially the part where you're holding your breath. And I mentioned that. I'm like, I just held my breath while I'm at making sure they're okay. And then I get the necklace. People had a problem with that. So I'll read this one. Um, Hey guys, I see one issue while you holding your breath. The person that is out of air may shoot up, dragging you up while you're holding your breath, or panic and do something else that would interfere with you getting your reg. I would put the reg in my mouth as I was, getting to them. So before you even get to them, breathe. Like, why are you holding your breath?
So, I mean, obviously, and I don't want to blame people here. This is obviously comments from divers that are not used to the long host configuration and the concept behind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you said, because I saw the video, of course, as well, I said about the holding the breath. We at ICE do not teach a specific point in that procedure where you switch to your backup regulator. Because the idea is, I mean, when I'm swimming along and I realize somebody needs gas and I take the regulator out of my mouth, I have something between 40 and 60 seconds where I can super comfortably swim and react and do stuff because I just took a full inhalation, right? I inhale, I give the long hose away. So I'm not in need of air. So my focus is on that other diver. And I don't have to find an octopus or another regulator. That thing's sitting right here. Basically, I don't even need my hand. I can do this and just grab my regulator. So when I feel like, okay, everything's under control, or I have a longer swim, let's say that diver is 5, 6 meters away and I have to do 4, 5 fin kicks to get to that person, I always have the time to put that in. But I see so many students that learn that procedure, and when they do it the first time, they take off the regulator and then they start to focus on their own backup gas, and they lose track of the person in need. And that's why we teach focus on that person, calm it down, transmit the message, say, I saw that you have a problem, maintain eye contact, display that regulator, the mouthpiece pointing to that diver in need, like, hey, here is your gas, is your gas. I just breathe from it. That's working. And I'm swimming to you, palm wide open. Get in contact, get that person in a firm grip, like mentally break through that. I need to go to the surface, which
Yeah.
might be seconds away. And boom. And in that procedure, if it takes 10 seconds or 50 seconds or whatever, there's always a point where you can just grab that regulator. As I said, you don't have to look for it or anything. It's just here.
Yeah.
And so that makes the whole discussion pretty obsolete.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see. I think somebody had a comment about this. I think the long host. Let me read this one. So it says, "I agree with everything you said, but one detail. Um, I dived the long host setup and had a new diver ask me to practice air donation with him, and I agreed. So he eventually gave me the out of air signal, and I provided my long host to him and gave him, to calm him breathing before taking my regulator on my necklace. And here's where the stuff hit the fan. He got water in his mouth, lungs when he perched the regulator and started immediately panic for real and grabbed both my wrists, not letting go, which meant I could no longer reach my necklace regulator and now I was out of air. Him being stronger, I could not get him to let go. to get him to calm down. Luckily, this was meant on training, and we were shallow. All I could do is kick as hard as possible to drag us both to the surface. This taught me that when I deploy my primary to help someone, I immediately put my necklace in, with my other hand before I get to the person, which is out of air. That way, if they grab both my hands or my arms, I still have my air supply already established. So that's what the comment said.
I mean, you can always come up with a situation that creates an additional problem, but I mean,
Yeah,
that's yeah, super bad that this happened. But as I just said, I, for example, don't need a hand to get my backup regulator. I
yeah,
can
just
just grab it. So it
pick
really
it up.
depends on how you configure it. But then you could still, I mean, I could probably just with my arm or whatever. I don't necessarily need my hands to get my backup regulator.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously
One thing we
super
can
bad if
try
that
next
happens,
time.
but I've never heard about it before.
We can try it next time. I just grab both hands and see if you can breathe
Make
again.
a little fist fight on the water. That's a
Anyway,
great idea.
we can try it once, for sure. Okay, so here's the other one. Very specific reason that this is wrong. It's if you share your long hose primary regulator that you've been breathing off of, which you just talked about, and go for your necklace, and it malfunctions when you're already low on air. Now you put yourself also in a situation where you have to try to get your primary back from the person who's panicking.
Fist
So
fight, I just told you.
that's what we need to practice. Yeah, fist fighting underwater. Um, which was interesting because again, at that point, I guess if that really happened, then I guess you could body breathe, which we did with just the hose, right? Not even a
Exactly,
second
yeah.
stage.
ISE
So
style.
yeah, so definitely, yeah, as long as you're not full on panicking, you should be good. Okay, next comment. I adopted using a long hose very early into my diving career, and I saw the tremendous benefit of not having to swim vertically to the surface on a conventional 3 foot hose and have used the long hose in an out of air situation a number of times. However, on one occasion, the out of air diver bolted to the surface, dragging me with them. I was able to grab the diver and slow them down, but it was very stressful for both of us. This has only happened to me once, and I now discuss the long hose deployment and use as part of my dive brief before we get in the water. So basically, they donated the long hose, and then that person just grabbed it and swim away. And because it's a long hose, is 7 feet long, so 2 meters long, you may not be able to grab them. So what do you think about that?
This will be a lot of hate probably. Um, from when you read these comments,
Yeah.
for me that means there's a lot of divers out there using this type of configuration without proper training and education about it. So this is, oh, I saw this on the internet. That looks interesting. I watched a couple of videos. Now I tried myself, and now it doesn't work properly. Or they dive with people who have no ideas. I mean, part of the game is, of course, before I go in the water, and now we are back on the briefing, to explain to a partner that is new to me, that is probably diving a regular setup, that hey, in a case of emergency, this is what we're gonna do. You need to talk about this before. So I understand you have an octopus, and this is what I get if I get into trouble. But if you get into trouble, you get my long hose. This is the procedure, and you need to spend a couple of minutes to talk with that person before. And if you don't do that, well, then stuff like what is described here happens.
Yeah, exactly. I think in some cases you just don't, like, you're on a boat with 20 people. You may be swimming and some random person comes to you and is out of air. You didn't have a chance to debrief. So I think just need to be alert on, when you're donating air. And I think part of going out with your hand open is not only to grab them and calm them down, telling them I got you and having that eye contact, but it's also to protect yourself. If they're coming at you or whatever, you can also grab them before they grab you, kind of thing. So that's another thing to think about. Now, I
Exactly. And I
thought,
mean, if you're face to face, and especially if it's an untra, sorry if I interrupt for a second.
no, no, it's all right.
And from the scenario we just heard about, that other person obviously was in a more vertical position going up, right? Because that
Yeah,
bolting to the surface for me means like that. So if you grab that person somewhere in the harness, you also have control about that person's BCD. So if that person is in front of me and starts to swim to the surface, I can, that's the idea. I'm in front of that person. I can manipulate the gear.
yeah,
Of course, I mean, you can always come up with some story where that doesn't work, like this two
Yeah.
meter
You can stack it up.
100 kilo wrestler and 150 girl, whatever. Yeah, that may not work, but normally
Yeah, then you both
that
die.
works pretty well.
Yeah, it gets to a point where I just go, then we both die. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
if you make it so it's so hard, to come
yeah,
out of it, then yeah, then you both die. All right, here's an interesting one. I personally didn't don't think this is right, but I want your thoughts on it. When dealing with new divers during open water, it can often be a good learning lesson. All right, so this is the part I don't necessarily agree. It can often be a good learning lesson to regularly show them how much air you as the instructor has. So every once in a while, it's like, hey, look what I got. However, this can be a double edged sword as more often than not, the student air will be consumed faster, which may panic them thinking that they will run out of air. It is often better to debrief after the dive when logging the air consumption and describe how they will be, how there will be a spare supply available. I don't know what that means. Then for the next dive, work on breathing and streamlining to allow them to see the difference. This means when an emergency occurs, they will stay calmer knowing that you have air allowance. So the idea is he thinks it's a good idea if you're the instructor to show your students like, look, I have this much air often, so they know that if they run out of air, well, my instructor will have plenty of air. I don't. Do you think that's a good idea? I don't know. I don't see
I
the.
don't know. I mean, we teach a lot of gas planning and minimum gas and stuff like that. And I want my students to monitor their air. We always teach them that the SPG is not there to show them how much gas they have, but to control what they should know. So you should have and that's what I'm teaching from day one. You should create a good sense of how much gas did I use. So the thing should not be you look at your SPG like, oh, I'm down to 2000 psi. It should be like, I should be around 2000 psi, and then you take your SPG like, oh, okay, that's correct. So everything's good. And if it's like 1000 psi, oh, something's really off. Something's wrong here.
Yeah,
Or if you're diving doubles and you look like, oh, still 3000, then probably your manifold's closed or something. So it should be an indication. And I
yeah,
never thought about like constantly showing my students because it also interrupts the dive. So I
right.
mean, for me that doesn't make sense. But I
This
mean,
also
it's
works with rebreathers too, by the way. When I did my class with Ed Sorensen on the Sidewinder, he said you should always kind of know where your PO2 is before you check it. Meaning it should
yeah,
be around 1.2, it should be around zero point 0.7, it should be around whatever based on what you just did, and it should confirm. Like when you look at your computer, it should confirm what you were thinking already. And if it's not, then you know that something is wrong. Like
yeah,
if you've been swimming at 1.2 and you're calm and you're not working hard, and 2 minutes later you look, it should be right around there because of that trickle valve. And if you look at it and it says something completely odd, like zero point 0.4, then well, something is happening, right? You have a problem. You have your deal is leaking. Something is going wrong. If you haven't
exactly.
changed depth. Um, Okay, so the next one is kind of compared to what we already talked about, but there's one interesting point. You make it clear that you were aware of your remaining air, but didn't mention how much air she had left. Based on the fact you swim back to the boat without her running out of air, indicates she too had air, but not checking her air immediately upon contact was not best practice. So what they're saying is, in an out of air situation, when you establish contact with the victim, you should check their air. Well, how much air do you have left? Um, that's the point that they're trying to make here. And then it says, additionally, in an out of air, you should ascend immediate. Period. So immediately, I should have just gone up. This can all be resolved at the surface, and then you can go back down if the problem is resolved. But don't keep her underwater since she was under stress. So again, that's just judging me for not going up, and we already discussed that. But how do you feel about the whole? You should check the air of the victim after they gave you out of air.
I mean, as first of all, just to go back to this ascent thing. So we always say the problem is on the surface. Fix your stuff on the water. Why would I go up somewhere in open water with, I mean, to the surface, then fumble around with whatever, and then go back down? I have an ascent, I have a descent.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. So fix your problems on the water. That's rule number one for us. And I mean, the person was out of gas. Full stop, end of story. So depending on the level of that person, it's worth checking if she is really out of gas. Because, I mean, we talked about it before. I mean, I had several people over the years showing me out of gas, but only one of them was really out of gas. I had roll-off valves, I had closed manifolds, I mean, stuff like that. So just going over that person's equipment, have a quick look. So maybe you see the problem and then you can fix it, and then person can go back on their own regulator and you can continue the dive.
Yeah.
But in your scenario, I mean, she couldn't breathe. So why would I check her gas? And I mean, the assumption, like the person wrote on that comment that you guys could swim back to the boat because she had gas as well. I mean, what would
Yeah,
it be good for? She
that
couldn't
part I
breathe
didn't
it.
get.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in this case, the only thing I regret about not checking her air after is A, I would have loved to see if like the SPG was locked because again, it was a first stage issue. If the SPG was locked in like full, like 2800 or whatever, like that
Yeah,
would have been interesting to see. And it would also basically allow me to try to troubleshoot, like clear her regulator or whatever, purge and see if I could figure out what was going on. Because yeah, I mean, I think that just for information, like she would have still been out of air. We still have to get out of here, like because her first stage was broken. It's like it wouldn't have helped, and I wouldn't have been able to fix it on the water. But I think seeing how much air they have left could potentially give you an opportunity to troubleshoot the problem. But if you're on your way up to the surface, I'm not really sure how much that's going to help. It's just mainly information for later. All right. I've configured the octopus long hose, and in an out of air situation, I would always prefer to give them the octopus first. Why should I use my primary regulator first? Then, in an extreme case, would both be out of air. What? Makes no sense for me. I check the octopus for functionality as part of my pre-dive equipment check. So I think what they're trying to say is if the if I give them my primary and then the octopus doesn't work, then we're both out of air. Like you just ran out of air. Now I run out of air, but not you wouldn't both be out of air at the same time. Like that I don't that doesn't that
all these
part
out
didn't
of
make
air
sense.
divers. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
but what's the science behind it? The real question is what is the science behind donating? And this goes back to why don't you just breathe out of your necklace and still provide the long hose, meaning that's your alternate, but you're already breathing out of your necklace. So why?
because you want to make sure that that person, I mean, this all comes from more extreme technical diving. Um, and the point is, you're in a more hostile environment, super deep, in an overhead environment, whatever. And that person needs gas now. And probably that person is not like open water diving shoulder to shoulder, but probably a little bit further away because you're on
Right.
scooters or single filer. I mean, we can build tons of scenarios here. So that person needs gas fast. And the chance to give that person a regulator that then is closed or clonged or with a flipped diaphragm, or I mean, you make up the scenario that you like most, and
Yeah.
then that person, instead of finally getting a breath, gets water. Probably maybe the ultimate problem, right? So you don't want to escalate the issue. So that regulator in my mouth is working. I'm breathing from it. Plus, if we talk technical diving, it's the right gas because probably I'm carrying 4 tanks with 4 different gases. So I don't want to take some regulator somewhere. And in a stressful situation, I probably deploy my oxygen regulator and we are in 80 meters of water or something like that. So the two things, knowing it's the correct gas and knowing that regulator works, and I give it away, and that problem is immediately solved. So now I'm calm. I have up to a minute to resolve any now upcoming issue. So if I go to my necklace and I realize, oh, that there is an issue here, I can always look at that person like, hey, calm down, breathe, but then give it back to me. We need to switch back and forth, or I can look for my bottom stage or whatever. So there's still room for fixing the problem, right? But I understand that somebody that is just looking at the configuration and doesn't have the training behind may think this is not a good idea.
Yeah, I understand. And I think, again, I think you answer already the follow-up question, which is if you play devil's advocate and say, well, what happens if you switch to your necklace and now your necklace fails for some reason? Of course, you should have checked it before you started the dive. But let's say if it fails, is that you have time to then troubleshoot it and be like, okay, we both are breathing, or whatever. Like you said, you have some time to fix the issue that you just created by switching to the necklace, rather than if you share the long hose that you weren't breathing out of and that one has a problem. Well, that person was already out of air. They've been out, their minute to troubleshoot is done. Like, they don't
Yes.
have time to troubleshoot. And then you get into a fist fight because they're gonna try to rip whatever's in your mouth, and that's a bigger issue, I feel like. And that was the other thing that I've heard some people say, either from people that ran out of or were in an out of gas situation, or the people donating, is that they got the regular ripped out of their mouth. Like, I was just swimming, next thing I know, bang, they just pulled it out of my mouth, and I was out of like, I couldn't breathe. So switching to a necklace is a lot easier than fumbling to find your octopus or whatever.
Yeah. What most people that haven't been in that situation don't understand is that getting out of or becoming an out of air diver is not like in these training videos where this pretty girl is like, "Ooh, I'm out of gas. Where is he? Oh, hello, I'm out of gas." That's nonsense. So you breathe in, you realize, oh, that breathe is strange, and then you exhale, and then you breathe in again. It goes really hard. Your body forces you to exhale again, and then you can't inhale. And so after exhalation, trying to inhale and not getting gas gives you about 20 seconds for an educated decision, and then actually panic kicks in. So then it's actually um, panic means that the natural instinct kicks in and you can't control it more. So panic underwater.
Yeah.
And that's that time issue that we have when I said, okay, that person already has an issue, and the time frame where you can fix this is closing. You have these 20 seconds, and then that person needs to breathe. And that's why it's important to donate something that you know is working and doesn't create an additional issue. You have a minute to do whatever.
Yeah, and I think panic is bad in all ways. Like, some people, when they panicked, they just freeze up. Like, they can't do anything. They literally, it's like
Yeah,
they're in shock. They can't do anything. Well, how are they going to troubleshoot an issue if they're in shock, panic, they are not moving? They're going to drown on you. You're going to lose them. So, now you did mention that not every scenario is a pretty girl. This happened to be a pretty girl for me. So that worked out like the videos. So that was a good thing.
perfect.
And I think a lot of it also is part of training, practicing your skills. I remember that somebody told me, and I thought it was a good idea, that they have a buddy they always dive with, and every once in a while they do share air at the safety stop. So, like, the dive is over, we still have air left. You have a third of your gas left, and you're at your safety stop. Then let's practice the body breathe, like just one regulator switching back and forward, between the two, because if you ever have to use it, which is very, very, very rare, you already have done it. Which I don't think people get to practice that. Mike taught me the same thing with, like, fins. It's like, once in a while you're in a cave dive, you're done, lose your fins. See what happens if you can get out of the cave with one fin. See what happens if you can get out of there without, the two fins. And I think Woody and I had a discussion about this. Like, if something weird happens, I mean, I can't imagine me losing both fins, but let's say something weird happens and both fin straps break and they just, swim away in the flow. Would it be better for you to tow me out with both fins, or would it be better if you give me one of yours and then we both have one fin? Like, we were like, we should test that theory. Like, what's better in those weird situations? But anyway, all right, last
You know
comment.
that I'm a big fan of this goofing around. I mean, I have
Yeah,
videos about this, like comfort in the water, where we just play around with stuff like breathing from that hose or breathing from the valve or the inflator or whatever. So, yeah, that's definitely something that every diver should do, and it is a lot of fun.
absolutely. And you know that it's coming. That's the beauty
Yeah,
about it. With these exercises where your body breathing, all this stuff, it's like, it's coming. You can prepare for it. You know what you're gonna do. Like, all that training or videos you've watched on how to deal with it, you can put them in practice, because when it happens for real, you're going to fall back to the level of your training and your practice. So that's the idea
yeah.
of practicing that often. All right, last comment, and then we'll end it here. Gus, this is not about that, luckily, about the out of air. I think we've explained that. You mentioned in the video that you wear your computer on your left arm. Like, people picked up on this. This seems contraindicated to me. Wearing the computer on the right side allows you to consult it continuously while making depth adjustments with your left arm. It's out of field of view, operating either the LP inflator or dump or reaching back to your rear dump, whatever it is. Similarly, for a dry suit inflator, Valsalva, manipulating stages and so forward. Is there a reason why you're wearing your computer on the left? So that was the question. I just answer because I almost always dive a rebreather, like 90% of my dives, 9 out of 10, maybe more than 9 out of 10, I'm diving a rebreather. My PO2 is always on the left, so I tend to just look left immediately. Even when I'm on open circuit, I'm going to look left to see my computer. So that's why I use it. I I don't see like why is a rule to have it on your right or why you should have it on your right to make adjustments. Like, do you really need to be glued to your computer to dump air or like, okay, let me dump air by looking at my computer? Like, why? I don't understand that part. I was never taught that it should be on your right. I this is one of those. It's like if you want to wear on your right, just wear on your right. Like I don't understand. Like I'm not gonna tell anybody you need to wear on your left or you need to wear on your right. Just wear whatever. Like do you have a preference? I don't know. Like I
Um,
know that you don't normally use a computer unless you're diving a rebreather, or at least you don't depend on the computer. You use it kind of as a backup. You do all
yeah.
your calculation and you fly out of instruments basically, but they're on your left. Like if you had a depth gauge and an SPG, they would be on your left. So
Yeah, so I mean the SPG is on the left anyway, but I have my bottom timer on the right. So if somebody asks me where should it be, I tell them it's on the right because I mean you can have this yeah, left hand is manipulating the inflator, the stages, etc. So I can basically maintain this. But I totally agree with you that I mean, adjusting your depth doesn't mean like a centimeter up, a centimeter down. I have to have my eyes glued on this display. So I have my computer depth gauge, whatever you want to call it, on the right side, and I have my compass on the left.
yeah.
But yeah, if I'm diving certain rebreathers, I also have it on the left because the cable's routed like that, and I don't want to make it super long or then it doesn't really fit my arm or whatever. So it's not really an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make any excuses. It's probably wrong that I have it on the left. That is true, but that's kind of the way I dive it. I can see the point of, all right, you're going to your 5 meter stop or your 15-foot stop, and then you're following your computer little by little from 25, 30, whatever, to all the way till you get to 15. So you're going little by little up. I get it. Like I see the merit on that, but I've learned by just diving myself that my shoulder dump is right here. I always use my right for it. So if I'm going up or whatever, I'm using my right and I'm looking at my computer on the left. It's just the rebreather computer's on the left and I got used to it. I think it's part of
Yeah,
training. It's part of my learning and how I dive it. I just got used to it. It's probably wrong again. And I think that if somebody didn't have a preference, like where should I wear, right or left or whatever, I think recommending the right is the right move. I wouldn't say you have to do it on the right,
yeah.
but I do see the merit of why it should be on the right. So that would be my recommendation as well.
Totally agree on that. And I mean,
Yeah.
the thing with the buoyancy adjustments is that, I mean, this is something that is slow. It's not like you dump gas and immediately I mean, you move in the water column, right? I
Teleport.
mean,
Yeah.
you dump gas and then it's a couple of seconds like, okay, am I moving up, down, whatever? And then the movement itself is fast. So I could easily check, okay, I'm at 3.2 meters and I want to be at 3 meters. So I press or I deflate or whatever I want to do, and then I look back. So it's, I mean, that is not an argument that I need to have my eyes on this to make an adjustment. So
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever
It's not a big deal.
better preference is fine. But as you said, if somebody asks where should I wear it, I would recommend right because of that. But it's not like a fixed rule or anything like that.
That's great. Well, thank you, Achim, for answering all of these comments. I don't know if people are gonna come back and now comment on this one on things we didn't cover. I will say that if you have any questions about the procedure itself, how do you donate air, why this hose, or what do you do first and second or whatever, go check out Achim's series on the art of donating air. He's gonna answer
Thank
it
you very much.
better than I would ever answer it. So go and check that out. And hopefully, we need to, get together more often and do more of these debriefs, even for
I
your
would
own
love to.
videos.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, if you get ever bombarded with questions on your videos and want to do a debrief, I'll just go there and I'll feed you the questions. We'll do it interview style. But yeah, so I'm actually gonna link to your series right here. So go check out the Art of Donating Air. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.